Welcome back to another Consules video. Today we'll be discussing how to play Lady Jessica. This is just a beginner guide, so there will be an advanced guide because she is a more complicated leader. So let's get started. First of all, her passive ability. When you send an agent to a Bene Gesserit ward space, such as espionage or secrets, you may return all of your memories to your supply, drawing a card for each one, and then you flip this leader over. Now let's look at her ring. So her ring allows you to pay 1 spice and get an intrigue card, and you get to move a troop from your supply to the Bene Gesserit board where it will be converted into a memory. One thing to keep in mind is that once you move a troop and convert it into a memory, you cannot return it to your supply until you flip Lady Jessica over. So if you have 3 memories, the maximum amount of troops that you can put into combat is 9 because you start with a total of 12 troops. Now let's look at her flip side once you flip her over and recall all of your memories. Let's look at her ring first. It's pretty simple. You spend a spice and you get a water. Pretty useful. Water is good in this game. Now let's look at her passive. Once during each turn, when you send an agent to a Bene Gesserit space or a Fremen board space, you may spend another water to repeat the effects on that board space. So what are these spaces? First of all, the key spaces are Espionage, Desert Tactics, and Fremkit. What is good at Espionage? So you can spend the spice and go to Espionage, right? And then now if you spend another water, you get another card draw and another spy. Could be very good because now it converts it practically into a research station, right? And you get 2 future card draws with your 2 spies or infiltration. Next up, Desert Tactics. Desert Tactics, you have to spend 2 water, you get 2 troops, and you get double trash. That double trash is very strong, especially with Reverend Mother Jessica. And finally, Fremkit. This one is like a dumbed down version of Espionage. You go to Fremen, you draw 1 card, spend another water, you can draw another card. Could be relevant. Now, there is a common misconception, however. Every time you see the symbol, the X symbol, that means you're allowed to deploy 2 more troops from your garrison plus whatever you've recruited from the space. So in Desert Tactics, you recruit a troop, so you get to put that troop in plus 2 more from your garrison, allowing a total of 3. But when you play Lady Jessica or Reverend Mother Jessica for that matter, you cannot get the double deploy reward because that is not an effect that is printed on that board space. The only effects that are printed are the ability to get a troop and the trash, and for Fremkit it would be just the ability to draw a card. So if you have 4 troops in your garrison, that does not mean you can deploy all 4 from that one effect. Similarly, you do not get 2 Fremen bumps for using another water. That would be broken. Now let's look at when should you play Jessica, or when should you pick Jessica. So first of all, if you see these cards on the row, Jessica is a pretty good leader that could target these cards. 8 costers and 7 costers, maybe some 6 costers, but there are other leaders that are better at acquiring 6 costers than Jessica. So how can you acquire a 7 coster and 8 coster early? So there's one line where you can go to Honka Basin early in the game, so round 1 or round 2, ideally round 1, and create a memory, and place that memory on the Bene Gesserit board. But you need to have drawn your Signet Ring to do this. And then instantly what you can do is go play your Sea Catalyst to Espionage and instantly flip, which will now recall a memory. So now you can get a draw for your memory and another draw. So you draw 2 cards from Espionage and you also get a spy. With this, the ideal draw that you can hit is 7. 2 Convincings, a Diplo, a Dune, and a Recon. You could switch out the Dune or the Diplo for another Dune, but that's the ideal draw. And with that, you can hit 7, acquire Interstellar Trade, round 1, pretty easy. You could do this, but there's also lines where you can wait on holding the memories, maybe play your Signet Ring 1 more time, and then push for an 8 coster card instead, because you can go to Espionage or Secrets and flip twice, flip and then recall 4 2 cards, and then you're probably at a good position to hit 8 for either Overthrow or Steersman. Next, what should you buy when you're playing Jessica? So, first of all, Jessica even in the theme, is a Bene Gesserit and a Fremen, because she hangs out with Paul. So why is Bene Gesserit and Fremen access good? And spy access for that matter. So Bene Gesserit access is good and Fremen access is good because her flip ability allows you to double your rewards. So Southern Elders has that access, which is very good. But also the thing that Southern Access has, Southern Elders has, is the tags. The tags are very important. If you see a card that has the Bene Gesserit tag or the Fremen tag and also has the access, you should think about buying it as Jessica, because the tags do synergize with other cards by just building Fremen Bond, which could get you more spice, or by, building some Bene Gesserit abilities where you can draw more cards because you have a Bene Gesserit in play. Next is Spy Access. So why is Spy Access good? So let's take a look at where Jessica can get spies, right? Espionage. Espionage is a Bene Gesserit space, and she can double her rewards at Espionage because she flips, right? And now you can get 2 spies down. You can convert those 2 spies into, if you place them on faction spaces, such as like the Dilver Supplies and Highlander space, spacing, or Fremen, you can convert cards like Calculus of Power into a Fremen access card or a spacing access card. And that is important when you're trying to go Highlander or, go Desert Tactics to double trash or whatnot. So Spy Access is also very good. And True Chance, obviously, it has all the accesses, very good. You don't even have to go to Fremen or Bene Gesserit. You can also go to Spacing and Emperor without even having another spy there, having a spy there. Very good. So next, what else should you be looking for? What else should you be looking for? Water production cards. So things like Maker Keeper. Hitting 2 on Bene Gesserit as Jessica is not very hard. You can either go Secrets or you can go Espionage and hit 2. Fremen could be a little more difficult, but ideally, Jessica wants the ability to get a lot of water. She wants to hoard water so she can double rewards, she can go Research Station, and so on. One key thing is that if you see Branching Path, which is a very good card for Jessica, because it has Bene Gesserit access, right? So it meets the first condition, but it also has a nice condition where if you trash an entry card, you can get another entry card and 2 spies with it. But you need to have the Bene Gesserit Alliance for it. Getting the Bene Gesserit Alliance, obviously, not very difficult for Jessica because she is one of the leaders that will be pushing for that alliance early. Unless you encounter a Margot, maybe a Shaddam who also wants that, or some other cards that allow some leaders to push towards the Bene Gesserit Alliance. So if you see this card as Lady Jessica, you should definitely think about picking it up. Next up, let's look at Fedaykin Steel Tent. This card, I feel like it's a better version of a dagger. So you could trash out a dagger either by Desert Tactics or from combat or somewhere. You could trash out a dagger and then have this card instead. If this card reveals you for a water, now this is very strong because water is very important in this game, right? So if you were to replace a dagger with this card, your deck automatically becomes better, and it allows you water. Similarly, you can go double rewards at Espionage, Desert Tactics, so on. Ecological Station, I've mentioned this card here because the Fremen Bond, because you're Lady Jessica, you're probably gonna try to buy Fremen cards because they have Fremen access. And most Fremen cards that have Fremen access have like the Fremen tag. So this one could, build a possible bond with it, and you could get a water on reveal. It's also a pretty good card because, it has Fremen access on its own. So you could go Fremkit, get your bump there, point there. Finally, powerful cheap cards. Obviously, like Guild Spy and Public Spectacle. Guild Spy is a very broken card because not only can you get a spy on spy, but every time you buy a Spice of Slow, when you reveal this card, you can get a bump with each faction that you are spying on. So if you have 3 spies on 3 different faction spaces, you get 3 bumps, and that is ridiculous. Then there's also Public Spectacle. You can recall a spy and get a bump. Getting spies for Jessica is not difficult because of the fact that Espionage is a key space for her. So if she can farm out Espionage, she can generate spies and then do things like Guild Spy and Public Spectacle and whatnot. Next, when should you flip Jessica? That's a common question that people ask. So first of all, you could play the main line, which is, go hug a basin, get 1 memory, flip, and then, play for either Inner Sword Trade, play for Overthrow, probably a round 1, round 2 flip, right? But this is not the only way. There's another way to play her. You could go secrets round one instantly and then play her ring to Imperial Basin. So what does this do, right? You go to secrets, you flip. Now you've got an intrigue, and then you can also go to Imperial Basin, convert one spice to one water. So now you're sitting on two water, right? Now what does two water get you, right? Two water puts you up to research station. So now round two, right? You're walking into round two with two water, so you're threatening a research station, and if you choose to go research station, right? You can not only draw two cards, which could possibly get you a good card on the row, but you're pretty much guaranteed to win the combat. Not only do you win the combat, but you also have an intrigue behind that could, if someone like Gurney or someone tries to overcommit on the combat, you have an intrigue behind, and there's a chance that you could draw a combat intrigue and beat them on the combat. So there's that path to flipping Jessica as well, where you go round one flip without having any memories, which is allowed. There's also the other path where you can play with memories. So you just play Jessica's front side for most of the game until round 6, round 7, depending on where you want to flip her. In this way, you basically just play her ring and farm her ring. Every time you see her ring, you try to play it because it generates you intrigues, and then it's a future draw. Eventually, when you go to either espionage or secrets, you're gonna recall all the memories and you draw depending on how many memories you have, 3 or 4. 4 if you're lucky, you see your ring 4 times, but ideally 3. And at espionage, that's 4 draws total. 4 draws is practically a guaranteed spice of slow. Secrets, 3 draws, still very good. Draws you into access, draws you into a possible spice of slow, and gets you an intrigue. Very good. If you have a spy down, that's another draw if you choose to recall the spy when nobody's gone. So in general, this is a very good path as well. So you could play Jessica by not flipping at all and just go for the memories path, or you could flip really early and go for the signet ring into water play. I will be putting out an advanced guide on how to play Jessica, where I strictly talk about how to flip and some other key concepts related to her. And as a Jessica player, what are some lines that you can take to win? Next, just some general objectives that Jessica should follow. First of all, if you do choose to flip to Reverend Mother Jessica, right, either early or like round 1, round 2, round 3, you should try to hit desert tactics, because think about it like a research station, right? You get 2 troops and try to double it, obviously. So you spend 2 water, just like you would do at research station, but you get 2 trashes instead of 2 draws. 2 trashes are very good early because now your deck cycle is much faster. So if you have better cards in your deck, you can trash out 2 daggers, you could trash out a Dune, you could trash out a Recon, and then now if you're putting cards in your deck like Maker Keeper, maybe even the Prepare the Ways or Public Spectacle, now you're seeing those cards more often. So playing for the double trash is very good early. Next up, combat, right? Lady Jessica starts off with 1 icon, right? She in a 4-player game, you either start with a mouse or start with a crysknife, and what you want to do is match 1. Usually you don't want to commit to round 1. You don't want to try to win round 1 combat, even if it matches for you, because round 1 should be your setting up play. You should be trying to either choosing to decide, do you want to flip early by going secrets, or do you want to, set up for round 2, round 3 combats. So round 2 and round 3 are the ones where you should be trying to match if they match for you. So matching at least 1, very good. That's like a general point that she can gain. Next, Swordmaster. Why is it's 8 Solari or 6 Solari, but how can you get this much Solari, right? Because Jessica already has a spice restriction and a water restriction. So putting a Solari restriction on her is also is one more thing that you need to play around. But you can make this easier by either acquiring contracts, right? So you can go to Imperial, to Dutiful Service, which is the Emperor space, and get a contract. Instantly get 2 Solari, or get Espionage, Deliver Supplies, or the Harvest one. But these 4 contracts are very good for Jessica early, because Espionage is a place that you're going to be trying to hit eventually, either round 2 or round 3. Immediate, obviously very good. You just get 2 Solari. No restrictions there. Deliver Supplies, you're probably going to be hitting Deliver Supplies simply to get a water, because water is very good in this game, and even better for Jessica, right? And Harvest, I like this contract very good early, because you can always play for this contract round 1, and then instantly go hog a base in round 2 when there's +1, and then instantly harvest 3. You also get 3 spice, and then you get 3 Solari for harvesting 3 spice. Very good. But there's also Spice Refinery. Don't forget that. Spice Refinery is also very good. You know, ideally you don't want to go Spice Refinery to get your Swordmaster, but if it is an absolute necessary, you should just go Spice Refinery. If you're sitting on 6 Solari and nobody has Swordmaster, you know, just convert 0. Just go get 2 Spice at 2 Solari at Spice Refinery, or you know, if you really want Swordmaster that early, you could go for one Spice for the 4 Solari and push for Swordmaster. But why is Swordmaster so good, right? Let's take a look at what Jessica's like deck would be like. So first of all, everybody starts with a Diplo and a Ring. For Jessica, depending on whatever, like, doesn't matter which side of her you play, right? It doesn't matter if you choose the memory side or the early flip side. You're gonna be wanting to play her Diplo. If you see her Diplo, you want to play her Diplo because it's one half of a point, right? Because every time you hit 2 on a track, you get a point. So it's a 1/2 of a point. So you want to play it. So you don't want to be at a position where you have your Diplo in your hand and your Ring in your hand, and another good card that you've bought. So having Swordmaster allows you to play all 3 cards and get all 3 benefits. Ring, similarly, is also a very good card for Jessica because it doesn't matter which side of her, Ring could either convert to a water or it could convert to an intrigue and a future draw. So Ring and Diplo and whatever else cards that she has bought, Maker Keeper, you know, another Bone Water, Interstellar Trade, another faction bump, maybe Public Spectacle, Recall Spy for a faction bump. So if you see these cards, you want to try to get Swordmaster because your deck quality is going to be pretty good. Next up, let's take a look at what Jessica's path to 10 would be, or the easiest way for Jessica to hit 10 and end the game. So first of all, it's the friendships that she can gain. For the spacing friendship, you can either go deliver supplies and then go deliver supplies again. You know, that's 2 times you visited it. That's a friendship bump. Or you could go deliver supplies round 1 or round 2, wherever, and then go Highliner on round 7. And obviously the round 7, you could probably win the combat with book Highliner, or threaten to win the combat, and that's your spacing friendship. Then let's look at the Bene Gesserit points. Because you're Jessica, you're probably going to be pushing for the Bene Gesserit alliance. So I think the easiest way for Jessica to hit 10 is to gain the friendship at Bene Gesserit and the alliance at Bene Gesserit, because she's going to be hitting espionage a lot and secrets maybe once or twice. So you should aim to hit the Bene Gesserit alliance. Next, the Fremen friendship. You should try to gain the Fremen friendship because not only do you get worms, but also you want to be able to go desert tactics. If you do flip early, you know, you get 2 water, desert tactics, double trash, double troops, win the combat. Very good. You can do that early, or you know, you could choose to play for worms very early and then go Fremkit, and get your 2 on Fremen and then get worms. But ideally, that's another way for another point that Jessica can get is the Fremen bump. And this is the harder one, the harder friendship to acquire. Round 1, round 2, you're probably gonna go dutiful service, maybe, and then you know acquire a contract like immediate espionage, as we said. And then you know later in the game, you're probably gonna like if you want to, you could go another dutiful service, not even for the contract, but just to get the faction bump, so you can get your friendship. That's one way to get the Emperor friendship. The other way is if you play for a Sardaukar. Obviously, Sardaukar is like a mini Highliner, right? So you don't get to deploy, but what you can do is set up for the next combat. So you can go Sardaukar round 4 and then set up for round 5 combat. And while everybody else's garrison is depleted, you'll be ahead in troops, and you'll also have an intrigue. Maybe it's a combat intrigue, pushes you over for the next combat, sets you up nicely. But also don't forget that if you do hit 2 on spacing, which you should, you can always have shipping access. And worst comes to worst, if you do need to go, shipping, you can always go spend 3 spice, get a bump, and 5 solar. The 5 solar is good because you could push for Swordmaster, or High Council too, because High Council Jessica wants to get spice pistols as well. And that one bump you could probably convert it into a point if you take it in the Emperor faction, as long as you've gone dutiful service at least once, right? That's a point. But sorry. Next is spice of slows, right? Lady Jessica should at least try to aim for 2 spice of slows, either round 6, round 7, or round 5, round 6, and then play for combat on round 7. But aim for 2 spice of slows. That's the easiest way. And how do you get this? Because she has the ability to double rewards for water. She can go espionage, draw 2, create 2 spies, and those 2 spies can also convert into more card draw for her later. So that space, very good for her. Then Fremkit, you could go there, get a card draw, double rewards, maybe get another card draw. Research station if you have 2 water. If you don't have Fremen or Bene Gesserit access, this space is also very good for you. Draw 2, maybe get a spice of slow, or you want to get a spice of slow with research station. Ideally, if you're playing for a round 5 or round 6. So aim for 2 spice of slows. That's 2 more points for you. So now you're sitting at 7. Then, as we said before, aim for at least matching 1 combat. It's simple. Just go hard on 1 combat that you think that you're going to win, and it matches for you. That's a point. Take it, be happy. 8. Now, the last 2 points are very difficult. Well, not very difficult, but they are more difficult compared to the other points that I mentioned. So, the first way that you can get the last 2 points is by simply just winning a round 7 combat, right? You win any of these combats, maybe if you either with the worms. If you get them with the worms, that's obviously that's 2 points on the spot. But if you don't have worms, that's no worry either, as long as you meet the second condition or have a match for that space, a second match for that combat. That's another point too. So that's another way you can hit to 10. But Lady Jessica, if you choose to play her in the Spice of Slow style, that's also fine too. In that manner, you'd have to get at least 1 more Spice of Slow, right? Get 3 Spice of Slows, but that only puts you up to 9. The 10th point you would have to get either by acquiring the Emperor Alliance or by acquiring the Spacing Alliance. Now, why did I say Emperor and Spacing over Fremen? Because usually the person who's going to get worms first is going to push for the Fremen Alliance. And Jessica is not a leader that is pushing for worms very early. She's practically playing her own different style compared to the rest of the leaders, other than maybe Shaddam. Shaddam also has his own little style. But the easiest way for Jessica to, if you're playing the Spice of Slow style, right, you want to get 2 alliances, right? You want to get the Bene Gesserit Alliance, and you want to try to get either the Emperor Alliance or the Spacing Alliance, either by just having access or by going shipping. But yeah, that's it. That's the easiest way to play